trust me, the fan base has no problem asking for the third-string quarterback to get an opportunity. Hell, I've been there before. I mean, when you're 1-13, Bruce Grodkowski deserves a start. You know what I mean? But at the same time, other than that, well, I don't know that Grodkowski ever deserves a start, but the point remains the Spurgeon win, you know. Anyways, but it's the position that they're in. That's what makes this different. It's tricky. It just, I don't envy the Browns, to be honest with you, because they do need to in some way find out what's happening, and not only what's happening for next year, but in a meaningful way, because it's a little different in Week 16 when nobody cares, nobody's trying. Then it's like a preseason game depending on things. How do you evaluate the quarterback there? But again, that being said, making a permanent change when you're 2 games over 500 with a month to play, it's a tough look to the fan base. And let's ask John McMullen what he thinks about that, man, as we roll into hour 2. John McMullen from the Sports Network, Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan, they're going to join us, and they both, I'm sure, have plenty to say about not only Johnny Football and Brian Hoyer, but the Browns. We'll talk about the NFL. Ray Rice back, but does anybody want him? I don't think so. We'll talk about all of that. Buckeyes, Michigan, Big Ten title game, JT Barrett, Cardale Jones. We have got a ton to go. Hour 2 just getting going. Don't go anywhere. Here comes the news. Here comes John McMullen, Dan Wismar, and more as we roll into hour 2 of the Sports Fix next after the news.
Manic depression is a frustrating mess. Wow.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into
The Sports Fix. We'll be right back. It's an addiction. The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix. Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your automotive car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. They're open late Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and open early Saturday so you can check it off your to-do list and get on with your day. They also have a newly remodeled service lounge and additional service bay just for Quick Lane oil changes. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is located at 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck. That's QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Signs and Ship, the official printing source of the Sports Fix. Locations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Find out more at signsandship.com.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. He won 10 games for the Red Sox and 6 more for the A's last season. Jon Lester will meet today with the World Series champion Giants. He, along with Max Scherzer, are the biggest names among starting pitchers available on the free agent market this winter. Lester's already received substantial offers from the Cubs and the Red Sox. ESPN's Buster Olney is reporting the Yankees are in serious pursuit of free agent reliever Andrew Miller. He struck out 103 batters in only 62 innings in 73 games for the Red Sox and Orioles last season. The Chiefs' postseason hits took a hit last night with a 29-16 home loss to Denver, with the Broncos rushing for 214 yards. Peyton Manning only needed 179 yards passing for the win.
Well, we needed to win. That's what we needed. We've beaten two good football teams 2 weeks in a row, and we've certainly kind of answered the challenge the last 2 weeks against two really good opponents. And like I said, everybody's got a lot of answers for what we need to be doing and how we need to be playing. You know, the players listen to the coaches.
The loss leaves Kansas City in a 5-way tie for the second wildcard spot in the AFC. Miami and the Jets will meet in Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN.
This Christmas, Dick's Sporting Goods has the gifts that matter for every athlete in your life. We've got the gear to keep them warm and the equipment, apparel, and accessories to keep them improving at the sport they love. Every holiday season starts at Dick's.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Tether off, we gonna tether off the mother sucker. Tether off the sucker. Tether off, we gonna tether off the mother sucker. Tether off the sucker. Tether off, we gonna tether off the mother sucker. Tether off the sucker. Tether off, we gonna tether off the mother sucker. Tether off the sucker.
It's been said, we got a real type of thing going down. There's a whole lot of funkin' going down here on the Sports Fix. Welcome back in. J-Rock with you, hour 2 as we roll on. Great first hour. Thanks for the phone call, guys. I know I missed a few. We did it as quick as we could. Feel free to keep calling, leaving messages on the hotline. That's the beauty of this whole thing, like my man the mayor did. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. Feel free to tell me to get off the phone. You got something to say. Okay, well, if you actually slap me like that, then we may have to talk about something. But other than that, feel free to do what you got to do. Get through with us. And if you can't, of course, Facebook and Twitter all the time. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. And, of course, you can email us, TheSportsFix@AOL.com. We're getting ready to go to the phones, which is why you can't call right now. John McMullen from the Sports Network is going to join us. We're going to pick up on this conversation. We're talking Browns coming off of a tough loss yesterday to the Bills, which just really congests things all over the AFC. And more than anything else, it sent the Browns season into a completely different direction as they made the Johnny Manziel plunge. And as I said, we're going to be talking in maybes until Wednesday, and then we'll be talking in permanence until then. But as much as I would go a different direction, as I've said, the Browns are going a different direction literally, because come Wednesday, I think it's just impossible for them not to say, but you know what? I'll say it again, just to go back to the beginning of the show. If there's a coach out there that would stand in front of everybody and say, Brian's going again this week, it is Mike Pettin, because he's withstood it all and done it. But I just believe that he never wanted to get to the point where he made a in-game change. And once he did, I think he's got enough, regardless of what his own eyes are telling him, even if he's leaning towards Hoyer, I think he's got enough voices in the room leaning the other direction that it's a done deal at this point. And I think we'll pick up with John McMullen and see what he thinks about that as well. We'll talk about the Browns going forward. They've got the Colts coming up. We'll talk about the AFC North here and more. Let's go to the phones, and let's start right there with my man John McMullen from the Sports Network. With us every Monday. He's here today as well. John, how you doing this afternoon?
Doing well. How about this? We weren't expecting to have this discussion. Wow.
How about that is right. 7-5 on December 1st. Now, many people back in August said, well, come December, Johnny Manziel will be the quarterback of the Browns. But it's because I'm willing to safely wager any amount of money. Most of them saw the Browns being about 4-9 at this point in time and going, yeah, they're going to make the change to the quarterback, and he'll get the last month of the season, maybe even the second half of the season, depending on how quickly things fall apart in Cleveland. I've been saying today, even if you go with the problems that Brian Hoyer's been having, and of course, it's much easier to, what's a good expression, a good equivalence. It's much easier to leave your wife when you've got the hot girlfriend on the side encouraging you to do it than it is when you're more interested in working on what's going on at home. So that being said, the new toy on the sideline makes it so much more tempting for these guys and for the fan base to go, hey, toss Hoyer to the side because we got that guy over there that we want to check out, regardless whether you think he's going to be good or whether you think he's not going to be good. But the trouble for the Browns is that they're 7-5. If they were 5-7, or if they were a reverse of that record, this is a no-brainer conversation here. But it's so tough to stand in front of your fan base with a winning record and go, hey, we're probably going to lose the last 4 games of the season because we're going to put the rookie in at 7-5. What do you think?
People aren't going to like in Cleveland what I think. I think bad organizations are bad for a reason, and generally poor decision making is usually at the core of the problems. And it doesn't get any worse than the decision Mike Pettin made in Buffalo. And by the way, I don't think it was strictly his decision. I think he's certainly been being pushed. We've talked about this numerous times, and at the height of Brian Hoyer's success this season, I'd always maintained that the long-term plan was Johnny Manziel. You don't draft a quarterback in the first round unless you plan on playing him. And that has always been the forefront. I talked about the small margin of error Brian Hoyer had. Even I didn't know how small it was and what it turned out to be. But this is an organization not used to playing meaningful football in late November. And the fact was they were. I don't think people understand just how good that Bills defensive front is. It might be the best in football. I don't think people understand that and how difficult it is to play that front four. I think you probably saw Joe Thomas negatively graded for the first time yesterday to tell you how good they are.
I think that may have been his worst game ever. I was telling somebody after the game, I said, I always stick up for Joe Thomas when people get on him, and I'm like, I don't understand why you criticize him. Yesterday, he was worked, man, that's for sure, but that's that front.
And there's a lot of people that get worked. That's my point. He never gets worked, and he got worked.
Yeah.
That's how good that front is.
Yep.
And it's all across the front. It's probably the best front four in football. You can make an argument with St. Louis when Chris Long is healthy and he's back. But if it's not one, it's 1A. So I think people don't understand that. But the larger picture for the Cleveland Browns is the fact that, again, they'll be playing meaningful football now in December next week. Against Indianapolis, and while Johnny Manziel might be under center, remember he will have nothing to have done with that. Now that's not his fault. Obviously, he hasn't had the opportunity to play, and I don't want to sugarcoat things because I think if they stayed the course and played the last month of the season with Brian Hoyer, I don't think they would have made the playoffs. I now think there is absolutely no chance they will make the playoffs. And that's not necessarily a criticism of Johnny Manziel. To expect somebody to hit the ground running, a rookie quarterback in the NFL, no matter how talented, the last month of the season in a playoff hunt, I can't think of this ever happening, with the exception, obviously, of injury. If someone's forced in because of injury, yeah, it's understandable. Why you would put somebody in at this stage after playing 3/4 of a season because of, what I look at as fool's gold. That game was over. I understand Johnny Manziel gave that offense a spark. He looked better. But that game was over. There was no doubt the Buffalo Bills were going to win that game. So to me, that was fool's gold. And this is, you're talking about the second incarnation of the Browns. Jerry, you know better than anyone else. They've gone from owner to owner, coach to coach, front office executive to front office executive with only one constant, and that constant is failure. And they failed again yesterday, and they're going to fail in the final month of the season. I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but this is astonishing to me if John, it goes as how I expected.
Right, and I know I saw your reaction yesterday. I knew what you were going to have to say about this. Here was my thing. Even if you want to I'm just speaking even to people that are really fired up about Manziel, and just like everybody else, and I said this at the beginning, I'll say it all week, I want to see the kid play football just like everybody else. I want to see him go out there and either prove people right, prove people wrong. Let's see him play at some point. I'm with that. But even if you take Hoyer out of the equation, I don't think the Browns did him any favors, and here's why. Because the fan base doesn't see this as, let's take a look at the rookie. They have positioned him by doing it now with a winning record in the final month of the season. They have positioned him to be the